Hey guys, this is Heroic Flamingo and welcome to my Guild Wars 2 class guide for the Guardian. In this video I'm going to look at all of the weapons that the Guardian can use and each of the individual weapon skills. I'll also be looking at the healing, utility and elite skills that the Guardian has at its disposal. I'll be looking at the profession mechanics and how that affects the Guardian, and then I'll also be looking at the specific specializations for the Guardian and how the traits can make your Guardian even more powerful. So if you're interested in playing as a Guardian, or if you already are and you want to know more, then sit tight and we'll get started right now. Okay, so before we go into the detail, I just wanted to give you a quick profession overview for the Guardian. So the Guardian is one of Guild Wars 2's soldier professions, and therefore uses heavy armour. Guardians are devoted fighters who protect their allies and smite their enemies by drawing from the power of their virtues. True Guardians are brilliant tacticians and selfless defenders who know how to empower their allies to achieve victory. So basically, Guardians are all about buffing their allies and themselves to make them and their group more powerful. They're a really good support role, but they have a lot of good damage options as well. And if you mix their heavy armour with their virtues, which basically provide them with passive benefits, with health regeneration and stuff like that, it makes their survivability really good. So they're actually known as one of the most powerful classes in Guild Wars 2 and one of the easiest to play, so they're really good for beginners. So without going into too much detail, let's move on to the weapons. Right, so first up I want to have a look at the Guardian's weapon skills. So I've got here all of the weapons that the Guardian can use. I'm going to equip them one by one and then have a look at all of the skills, see what they do and then demonstrate them. So the first weapon we're going to go with is the Greatsword. So this is a two-handed sword and therefore will replace all 5 of my weapon skills. So let's have a look at the first one. So the first one is actually a chain skill. A chain skill is a skill that's going to basically have a few skills that go off in a row. And when you're using this, you want to make sure you let the chain play out, because a lot of the damage and any effects will be weighted towards the last strike. So as this one's a 3-part chain, you're going to want to let it play out before you use your other skills. So these are Strike, Vengeful Strike and Wrathful Strike. First one is Strike Your Foe. The second one, Strike Your Foe again. And the third one, Attack with Final Powerful Strike that applies Might for each foe you strike. So Might is a buff that's going to give you condition damage and power. So effectively it's going to buff you, so you might want to use this before your other skills, because this is going to make you even more powerful. So as you can see, it's range 130, so that means it's melee range and it can target up to 3 enemies. So let's give this a go. Okay, strike, strike again, and powerful strike. Strike, strike, and powerful strike. As you see, that's putting stacks of might on myself. Lovely, that's stacking up and making it even more powerful. Okay, perfect. So that's the first one. So the second weapon skill on the Greatsword is Whirling Wrath. So spin in place and swing your Greatsword while hurling powerful projectiles. So this is a range 600, so it's a mid-range ability. Can target up to 5 enemies, so that's pretty good. And basically you're going to whirl around and shoot these basically shoot these projectiles at nearby enemies. So if I stand in the middle of these two guys, press my number 2, we can see that's pretty good. That's shooting out to everyone. So you can do it when you're in the middle of a bunch of enemies. It's mid-range, so you don't have to be right next to them, but that's pretty cool, and it's a pretty cool animation to go with it as well. Okay, your number 3 ability, Leap of Faith. So leap at your foe and it inflicts blindness and heals you for each foe hit. So you can hit up to 5 targets. So if you've got a big group of enemies, you're going to want to use this to sort of enter combat. So you're going to jump in and you're going to blind the enemies as well, which means that their next outgoing attack misses. So it's pretty cool. You can jump in, blind all the enemies, and heals you for each foe hit as well. So it's pretty cool because it will, give you a bit extra health as well. So let's give this a go. Let's try and jump in at this guy. It's 600 range, so it's mid-range, so I can probably do it from about here. Bam, there you go. So as you can see, flips through the air, does a big amount of damage. You're going to heal yourself, you're going to inflict blindness, and then you can go straight into your chain move afterwards as well, so that's pretty cool. So your 4th ability on the Greatsword is Symbol of Wrath. So they all seem to be around Wrath. So this is a symbol spell. So pierce the ground with a mystic symbol that damages foes while granting retaliation to allies. So yeah, so basically you put a symbol down on the floor, and it has negative effects on enemies and positive effects on allies. So damages enemies and grants retaliation to allies, and it says there retaliation reflect incoming damage back to its source. So it's pretty good support thing, and it's also going to do some extra damage. So while using this weapon, if you're going to use your number 3 to jump into combat, you're probably then going to want to stick down this number 4 to basically do some damage to all the people in the area, as you can see. And it's granting me retaliation as well, so buffing allies and putting and basically damaging enemies as well. So best of both worlds. So your 5th one here is throw blades at your foes, causing damage over time. Bound foes can be pulled to you. The effect ends when a foe moves out of range. Okay, so this targets up to 5 people. Maximum range is 600, so it's mid-range. And the maximum duration is 10 seconds. Okay, so I'm going to show this to you now. So what this does is it throws blades at all enemies nearby and basically tethers them to you, and then you can press the number 5 again to pull them into you. So let's demonstrate this. So if I stand between these guys, boom, there you go. And then if I press it again, boom, there you go. So it's pulled them all towards me. So that's pretty cool. So if you're going to use like an AoE, if you're going to put down your number 4 or something like that, maybe your number 2, you could use your number 5 to first do a bit of damage and then pull them in, and then lay down your number 4, so everyone around you is going to have that effect, and then maybe do your number 2, which is that spinning attack, so you can damage all of them. So it's a pretty cool way of you know, crowd control, bringing the people towards you. So if you're tanking, you know, you need a lot of sustain and everything, you bring them towards you, away from all of your allies, and they can. It's pretty cool because you bring them together as well. So it's quite good in a group situation because then your allies can whack down a bunch of AoE abilities and finish off the mobs pretty quick. Alright, so now I've got the two-handed hammer on. So let's have a look at these 5 skills. So your number 1 skill is another chain ability. So you've got hammer swing, hammer bash, and symbol of protection. So the first one is strike your foe. The second one is bash your foe. As you can see, you can hit up to 3 targets, and it's got to be melee range. And then your third and final hit, smash a mystic symbol onto the ground that gives protection to you and your allies. So this is quite different. So this is a buffing ability here for you and your allies. So on your third hit, you're going to put down a symbol and give protection, which is going to reduce incoming damage for you and your allies. So let's have a little demonstration of this. Bash, bash, and boom, there you go. So it's got a little bit of a cast time there on your final one. So let me just show that again. Boom, and then bam, there you go. So that throws down the symbol around there, and obviously that's going to affect all you and all your allies in that place, anyone within that circle. So that's pretty cool. So your number 2, mighty blow. So damage nearby foes with a mighty ground slam. So this is range 300, so it's relatively close range. Target up to 5 people, and there's a radius of 180 around you. So let's have a little look at what this looks like. Boom. So you jump forward a little bit and you slam down your hammer and do damage to everyone around you. So that's quite a heavy damage one. That's just, there you go, just see how far you can jump. So it's not from massive, like you wouldn't be able to do it from sort of like back here, but you can do it from sort of here, not too far away. Your number 3 ability, Zealot's Embrace. So send a wave towards your foe that immobilizes foes in a line. So range 1200, which is a very long range, which is good, and immobilize for 2.5 seconds, meaning they're unable to move. So that's really quite powerful actually. So it's going to do it in a line as well, so it should be able to do multiple targets. Yeah, it says number of targets up to 5, so it's going to do some damage as well, as you can see, but the main thing is you're going to immobilize some enemies, allowing you and your allies to just do a bunch of damage without actually taking any back. So let's give this a go. There you go, as you can see, immobilized and immobilized. Basically ricocheted across the ground there and immobilized everyone in a row. So if you've got a bunch of enemies coming towards you, you can do that, and then maybe use your number 2 to jump at them and a bunch of damage abilities while they're immobilized. So that's pretty cool to fit into your build as well. Your number 4 is Banish. So launch your foe with a powerful smash. So it's range 130, so you need to be very close range, and it launches 750, so that's quite fast. Let's have a look at this, shall we? So yeah, we're going to launch them with a powerful smash. Alright, lovely. Yeah, as you can see, target golems, they teleport back. You see, that was pretty cool, and that knocked them quite a way. It's got a bit of a cooldown, but that's quite cool. So if you've got enemies coming towards you and you want to knock them away, then that's a pretty cool ability there as well. And your final ability on the hammer is Ring of Warding. So this is a ward ability. So create a ring around you that foes cannot cross. Trapped foes cannot exit the ring while it's active. So you can target up to 10 people, lasts for 5 seconds, and it's a small radius of 180 around you. So it's sort of like it does two things, this ring. So it keeps enemies away and it keeps them in. So if you could use it to stop enemies from coming near you, then swap to maybe a ranged weapon and attack them, and they can't attack you if they're melee. Or you can use it to trap enemies in. So if you want enemies to stop running away from you and you want to keep them in, use some AoE abilities, you can trap them in, and then you and your allies can use your AoE abilities on them. So let's give this a little go. Boom, there you go. So anyone in this ring, they'll be unable to leave and also unable to enter. So that's pretty cool, and you could utilise that in your build as well. Okay, so next up is the two-handed staff. So this is a magic weapon. So the Guardian isn't just like a melee character, you know, like a tanky sort of thing. You can also use long-range magic abilities as well. So let's have a look at this. So your number one ability on the staff is another chain ability. So you've got Bolt of Wrath, Searing Light, and then Seeking Judgment. So these are all 1200 range, which is the longest range. You can do it from quite far, like back here. So the first one fires a bolt that damages foes. The second one, fire a projectile that explodes upon impact and damages enemies. And the third one, fire a seeking projectile that explodes upon contact and damages enemies. So that's pretty cool. So it's all from long range. They can all target. See, the last one targets up to 5, the middle one up to 3 enemies. So I think it's good that it goes. So let's try it on this guy. So first one, bang, bang, and then biggest projectile. So it gets bigger. So see, that's quite high damage, and it's pretty cool as well, animation. So you've got your first little one, then another projectile, then an even bigger projectile. And the further it goes on, the more enemies it hits as well. So that's pretty cool. You can use that to hit a bunch of enemies if they're all together. Your number 2 ability is Holy Strike. So this is a ground targeted ability, and this is mark an area for judgment, rapidly healing allies and blasting foes in the area. So if you've got a group of your allies that are fighting some enemies all bunched up, you put this down, ground targeted ability, and you're going to heal your allies and you're going to damage the foes. So you're going to have best of both worlds there. You can do it from 1200 range, and it can be up to 5 targets. So let's try this out. Okay, there you go. You can see it damage the enemies. Obviously you can't see that it's going to also heal your allies as well, if you had some there. So that's pretty cool. Your third ability is Symbol of Swiftness. So this is sear a mystic symbol into the target area, damaging foes and granting swiftness to allies. So another similar sort of one. So it's a ground target ability. It's going to damage your enemies and give swiftness to allies, which increases their movement speed. So let's try this out. You can see there, look, it's damaging the enemy periodically, and then also, you know, if you've got some allies in that area, they'll be able to move quicker as well, so that's pretty good. Your number 4 ability is Empower. So channel healing and might to nearby allies. Completing this channel grants more health to your allies. So it's a channeling ability, so it takes a certain amount of time, so it pulses 3 times, it says, and it can target up to 5 people. As you can see, it's got the details there and gives might. So let's have a look what this looks like. So completing it grants more health to your allies as well. So you want to complete it if you can. So this is 600 radius. So this will be this is a radius ability. So basically, it's people around you. So this doesn't have any effect on enemies. So it's only really something you want to do for your allies. So if I try this out, you can see you're channeling it. It's pulsing. You're gonna be healing all the enemies around you there and giving them might as well. So it's basically a good little buff ability for your allies that are around you. So if you're attacking a bunch of people and you've got your allies around you, use that, channel it, and you'll be buffing your enemies and healing them at the same time. So that's pretty cool. Your final staff ability is Line of Warding. So create a line in front of you that foes cannot cross. So it lasts for 5 seconds and it can target up to 10 people. So this is a ground targeted one, but it's sort of like a line that you can place down in front of you. It can be done from quite a long range. So if you've got some enemies coming at you, but you still want to continue to use some ranged abilities with your staff, or also, you know, if you've got some allies that you want to protect, as you can see, you can place this down like that, and you can aim it towards where they're coming from. Go like that, and I can stop them from coming at me. Boom, there you go. Look, you can see on that guy, stopped him from being able to move, and you can't go past it. So then I can shoot my spells through there, so my spells can still hit them, but they can't get through it. So that's pretty cool to use against some melee enemies if you're using ranged combat. Okay, so the next weapon is the one-handed mace. So this is in your main hand, and therefore it gives you your first 3 weapon skills. So let's have a look at these. So your number 1 ability is once again another chain ability. So you've got True Strike, Pure Strike, and Faithful Strike. So first up, you're going to smash your foe, hitting up to 3 targets. Then you're going to bash your foe, another one hitting 3 targets. It's all melee range, so you have to be right up close. And then your third one is hit your foe with a final strike that heals nearby allies. So you're going to be able to hit at least 3 enemies around you with this. You're going to go smash, bash, and then final hit, and that's going to heal your allies around you. So let's give this a little go. Smash, bash, and bang. Big hit, and it lets off a nice big heal there for all your allies around you. So that's pretty cool there, helping you and your allies to stay alive as well as damaging the enemy. So that's pretty much what the Guardian's about, so that's pretty cool. So your number 2 ability on the mace is a symbol ability, so Symbol of Faith. So smash a mystic symbol onto the ground that damages foes and regenerates allies. So like say, it's one of these symbols, it's got a benefit to yourself and a negative to enemies, so you're going to be damaging enemies while healing your allies. So if I give this a go, put that down on the floor, bam, that creates a circle in this area around you, and like I said, it's going to be damaging the enemy and also, you know, healing you and your allies. So that's pretty good if you're all within melee range attacking a bunch of enemies. And then your number 3 ability here is Protector's Strike. So protect allies from the next incoming attack against them and lash out when attacked, granting boons to nearby allies and fully charging the passive burning effect. Okay, so you can see it's given Aegis, which blocks the next incoming attack, Protection, which decreases incoming damage. So you're going to, basically you're protecting allies from the next attack, and you're also going to lash out when attacked. So let's give this a go, see what this looks like. As we're not going to get attacked, I suppose we won't be able to lash out, but just as an example, you see channeling that, all of the allies around you, including yourself, you're going to be blocking that next attack as well. So it's quite a good defensive ability for you and your allies. And then we'll cause them to counter attack as well, which is pretty good, so it'll do a bit of damage to the enemies as well. Alright, so your next weapon is the one-handed scepter. So this is a main hand magical weapon, so this is going to be your first 3, and it's going to be from long range as well. So your first ability is Orb of Wrath. So fire a slow moving orb at your foe. So you can see this is range 900, so it's not the longest range, but it's pretty long range, so I can do it from back here. So let's try out number 1. So as you can see, that's a really quick ability, sending out, so it's not a chain ability like loads of them, but it's really quick, so you can shoot, doing quite a bit of damage because of its, just simply because of the speed of it. So that's pretty cool. And obviously from long range as well, so it's quite a good ranged option. Okay, so your second ability is Symbol of Punishment. So create a symbol on the ground that strikes foes and grants might to nearby allies. So this is, you know, what you're pretty used to by now, so you're going to put a symbol on the ground. You can do it from range, it's ground target ability, so it's different to some of them, so it's not going to be the ground around you, it's going to be where you place it, so you can do this one from a distance, so that's pretty good. So if you're standing back while your enemies are fighting, so while your allies are fighting melee, you can just stick this on, give them might, and obviously damage the enemies as well, so a bit of both. So let's place this down on this guy. You can see damage swooping down, attacking the enemy, and like I said, you'll be given buffs to your allies as well. So your third and final ability on the scepter is Chains of Light. So immobilize and make your foe vulnerable with ethereal chains. So immobilize them and make them vulnerable. So immobilize, stopping them from moving, and vulnerable increases their incoming damage they receive. So you can do this from distance, and it's quite good. So it puts a couple of effects on the enemy. So if I target this guy, bam, there you go. It stops them from moving and makes them vulnerable as well. And so you use that, and then you can hit them with, you and your allies hit them with all your attacks, your most powerful attacks. They're going to take even more damage. So that's a pretty good one to get them ready for a good old smashing. Alright, so now we've got the one-handed sword. So this is going to be main hand, and it's going to be your first 3 weapon abilities. So your first ability is going to be a chain. And you've got Sword of Wrath, Sword Arc, and Sword Wave. So your first one will slash your foe once, hitting up to 3 targets from melee range. Your second one's going to slash the foe again. And your third one is going to send out waves of attack that strike multiple targets. So that's pretty cool. So you're going to hit them again, and all of these attacks hit multiple enemies. And the third one is going to send out multiple attacks to hit your enemies as well. So let's give this a quick go. Smash, smash, and then boom. As you can see that animation, it's shooting out there, and that's going to send out, and it's going to hit all your nearby enemies as well. So your number 2 ability is Symbol of Blades. So this means you teleport to your target. So this can be done from 600 range, so mid range you can use this to enter combat. So teleport to your target and blind nearby foes. So that means you're going to miss their next outgoing attack. And create a symbol at your feet that damages nearby foes and benefits allies. As you can see, you're going to be putting Fury on your allies. You can hit up to 5 enemies, and it's going to create a radius around you. So if you're going into a melee fight, boom, there you go. Teleport in, put that symbol down, which is going to have damage enemies, and it's going to buff your allies. It's a pretty cool way of entering combat, doing a bit of damage, doing extra damage with the symbol, and also buffing your allies. So pretty much a bit of everything there, so that's pretty cool. And your third ability is Zealot's Defense. So block ranged attacks while casting magical projectiles. So see, not everything on here is like completely from melee range. So this is a mid-range ability. So you're going to block projectiles, and you're going to shoot out magical projectiles from your sword. So it's quite an unusual one for a sword. So if I give this a go now, and you can see by the animation there, creates a force field in front of me to block projectiles, and then shoots out attacks towards the enemy from mid-range. So that's pretty cool. Alright, next up we've got an offhand. So this is the focus. So this will be your 4th and 5th ability, and obviously you can pair this with a good main hand. So we've got our number 4 ability here, so our first focus ability, and this is Ray of Judgment. So this is infuse your foe with the light of judgment, inflicting damage each interval if they're initially struck. So you can see this lasts for 6 seconds, interval of 3/4 of a second, and it's long range, so it's 1200, so you can do it from the very longest range. So light of judgment, so it's going to do damage over time basically, and obviously you need to strike them initially. So let's give this a go on this medium target column here. See, it creates a nice beam there, and each interval, every 3/4 of a second, is doing a nice bit of damage there. So that's a pretty cool ability there that you can do from quite far away, so you don't have to get close to do that. And then here you've got Shield of Wrath. So create a shield to block the next 3 attacks. If the shield is not destroyed, it explodes and damages nearby foes. So as you can see, blocks attacks, explodes when it ends. So you can block 3 attacks, so that's pretty powerful, to be honest. So let's give this a go. Obviously we're not going to be able to demonstrate actually blocking the attacks with these guys, but I'll at least show you what it looks like. So you've got enemies around you, use that ability, and there you go, creates a cool field around you. The next 3 attacks should be blocked, and you don't have to channel it, so you can continue to attack while doing that. So that's pretty cool. That's gonna be help you survive. So if you're using this and then you want people come near you and you want to stop them from doing damage to you, you could always whack that out. So that's a pretty cool option there. So next up you've got the shield, which is another offhand. So this one, so your first ability on here is Shield of Judgment. So create a shielding wave in front of you that damages foes while giving protection and aegis to you and up to 5 allies. So this one is probably going to be done when you're near an enemy and they're attacking you. So you're going to do a shielding wave in front of you. It's going to damage foes. So it's not just a defensive ability, and it's going to give protection, which is going to reduce incoming damage, and aegis, which blocks the next incoming attack to you and up to 5 allies. So if you're in a group of people, it's going to damage enemies, but it's also going to buff your allies as well. It can be done from 600 range, so mid-range. So let's just test it out on this guy. Bam, there you go. So as you can see, that shot a wave out of that guy, and also we've got Aegis here, so we're blocking that next attack, and so will all of our allies as well, and also protection as well, which is cool. So that's really good. So that's going to be good for working in a group and buffing your allies. So your second ability here is Shield of Absorption. So create a dome around you that pushes foes back and absorbs projectiles. So you see, this is a radius of 300 around you, lasts for 4 seconds, can target up to 5 enemies and knocks them back a fair distance. So this will knock the enemies back, and like I said, any projectiles it absorbs as well. So if you're with some of your allies, it will protect all of you from projectiles. Let's try this out. Alright, really cool. As you saw, that knocked them all back there. Nice animation there, lasts for a decent amount of time. So obviously any incoming projectiles there, just going to bounce straight off that shield for you and your allies. So that's a really cool protection spell you've got there. Alright, so last but not least, we've got the torch. So this is our final weapon, and it's another offhand. So we've just got a couple of abilities left to look at here. So your number 4 ability here on the torch is going to be Zealot's Flame, and then as you can see, there's a secondary ability there, Zealot's Fire. So let's look at the first one. So set yourself alight, periodically burning up to 3 nearby foes. The final pulse applies additional burning. So you can see you can target up to 3 enemies. It's going to burn over time, over 3 seconds, and the final one is going to do additional burning. And then you can see you've got another ability there, so throw your Zealot's Flame to damage the target foe. So I think if you're not that close, so this is only going to set people alight that are within a radius of 180. But if you're actually using this as a long range weapon, you can double tap your number 4 and you can shoot it at the enemy instead, so you can throw it at them. So that's pretty cool. So it sort of means that you can do it from close range or long range. So let's quickly show that. So if I use my number 4 there, it's going to set them alight, but if I press that, bam, that's going to throw it at them, and it's going to do extra damage. So as you can see, that's really unique. So you can use that ability from close range. If you're surrounded by enemies, you can set them all alight, or you can also use it as a long range ability and just throw it at them. So that's really cool. So you can adapt that to the situation. Your number 5 here is Cleansing Flame. So breathe magical flames that damage foes and cure conditions on allies. Inflicts burning on the final attack. So this pulses 10 times, range 400, so medium to low to short range there, and you can see it also cures conditions on allies as well. So if you've got if you've got a battle going in front of you between allies and enemies, you can shoot this out, and this is going to damage foes and cure conditions on allies. So it's going to do both. So that's pretty cool. So let's try this out here. So we can stand from about this distance. Let's try it out. So there you go. So it lasts for a few seconds. How cool is that? You're literally breathing out flames. So that's a really cool ability. Does a decent amount of damage to your enemy, and also, if you've got allies there as well, that's going to help them out as well. So that's all of the weapon skills. So the next thing I want to move on to is the Guardian's healing skills. Okay, so now we're going to look at the Guardian's healing abilities. So this is your number 6 ability, and we've got a few options to choose from. So our first one here is called Shelter. So block attacks while healing. So this is going to give you a nice heal, but it's also going to block attacks. So if you're taking quite a lot of damage, so obviously you want to heal yourself, it's also going to give you a couple of seconds of block duration as well. So it's going to stop you from taking damage. So that's pretty cool. So let's try this out. There you go, as you can see. Going to create a block. It's going to block a couple of seconds worth of damage, but also give you a nice heal as well. The next healing ability that you've got is Signet of Resolve. So this is your first look at a Signet skill on the Guardian. So Signet skills are skills that have both a passive effect and an active effect. So the passive effect on this Signet is that it cures a condition from yourself every few seconds. So as long as you've got this skill on your bar and it's not on cooldown, you're going to cure a condition every few seconds, which is pretty cool. Then when you're low on health and you want to activate it, you just press the button and it's going to heal yourself with a nice big one-off heal. Do bear in mind that while the Signet is on cooldown, your passive won't actually be active. So do bear that in mind. So let's just demonstrate that now. So bam, there you go, your skill's done, and then as you can see the passive has come off there, and then once that cooldown ends, your passive will return. Alright, so your next healing ability is a shout, and it's called Receive the Light. So heal yourself and allies in a cone in front of you. So as you can see, there's an initial self-heal, there's a self-heal per pulse, and then there's an allied heal per pulse. And it has 5 pulses, and it targets up to 5 allies from medium range, so 600. So let's give a little demonstration of this. There you go. So you're going to be healing all enemies within that area there, and then you're also going to be healing yourself at the same time. So this is a pretty cool one for in a group situation, if you don't just want to heal yourself, you want to heal your allies as well. Your final healing ability is Litany of Wrath. So this is a meditation skill. It says heal yourself, and for a brief time heal yourself based on a percentage of damage dealt to enemies. So you're going to have an initial heal, and then 33% of damage dealt is returned to you as healing. So this is an interesting one. If you're not dealing out a lot of damage at the time, then you probably don't want to use this one. But you know, if you're using it in the middle of combat and you've got quite a high damage build, this might work out better than your ordinary healing skill, because a third of the damage you're letting out, you're going to heal yourself for 6 seconds. So that could, you know, if you're letting out a lot of damage, you could actually do a big bit of healing on yourself there. But do bear in mind, it does take a bit of time, because it will only heal you as you're dealing out the damage. So if you need a one-off big heal, this probably isn't the one for you. So that's all of the healing skills. So next I want to have a look at all of the Guardian's utility skills. Alright, so now we're going to have a look at the Guardian's utility skills. So if I click here on my 7, 8 or 9 ability, it's going to show me all the utility skills I can choose from. So there's a fair few here. Each line is a different type of skill. So you can see you've got meditation skills, consecration skills, shout skills, signet skills, and also spirit weapon skills. So I'm going to go through each of them and obviously show you, speak about them, and then show you a little demonstration. So let's start with the first 3 here. So if I pick these first 3 meditation skills, and then we'll go from there. So your first ability here is Smite Condition. So cure conditions and damage nearby foes. Deal more damage if a condition is cured. So this is a skill that's on a radius of 360 around you, so you need to be relatively close to the enemies. You're going to cure conditions and damage nearby foes. So this is another example of the Guardian's mix of dealing damage while at the same time helping yourself and your allies. So let's just show you what this looks like. Bam, there you go. As you can see, it's a decent radius, so to hit that guy there as well. As you can see, it damages them, and it's also going to help you and your allies as well. Your next utility skill is Contemplation of Purity. So this converts the conditions you are suffering from into boons. So you can see it also breaks stun as well. So it's a pretty cool ability to use. So if you're against enemies that is obviously putting a lot of conditions on you, this is not only going to get rid of those conditions, it's actually going to turn those into positive effects. So if you're fighting someone who's dealing a lot of conditions, this could be a pretty good option for you. I'll just show you the, obviously I haven't got any conditions on me, so you won't see that, but I'll show you the animation there. So as you can see, that's pretty cool. So yeah, you can use that as a good one to keep yourself alive. The next one here is Judge's Intervention. So this is teleport to your target and burn nearby foes. So this is a 1200 range, so it's very long range, and it can target up to 5 enemies. So I can stand all the way back here, target the enemy, press my number 9, bam, there you go. So I've teleported to them, and I've also shot fire out in all directions, dealing damage to all enemies around me. So that's a pretty cool way of entering combat, and obviously doing a decent amount of damage to start with as well. Alright, so the next 3 utility skills we've got here. So we've got the final meditation skill, so Merciful Intervention. So shadow step to an ally in the target area and heal around them. If no ally is present in the target area, the ability will not shadow step. Alright, so this one we might not be able to demonstrate properly, but it's range 1200, so it's from quite far away. It's a ground targeted ability, so if there's an ally within that area, you're going to shadow step there, and you're going to heal around them. So this is pretty cool if you've got your enemies, if you've got your allies all together. It can target up to 5 allies, so it's pretty good. So I don't know if that's going to, yeah, so it's not going to demonstrate it properly because there's no allies here, but as long as an ally is in that area, you're going to teleport to them, and you're going to heal around them and all your other allies there. So that's pretty cool for a group situation. So here you've got the first consecration skill. So this is a ground targeted ability, and it's a Wall of Reflection, it's called. So summon a barrier of mystic power that reflects projectiles. So this is going to create a wall, you see, and it's going to reflect projectiles. So if you're dealing damage from range and you've got someone shooting quite a lot of projectiles at you, this will make them bounce back at them. So boom, there you go. As you can see, animation's pretty much showing exactly what it's going to do there. It's creating a nice big wall there. Any projectiles are going to bounce back, and it seems to be lasting quite a long time. Yeah, duration is 10 seconds, so that's pretty good as well. So really good if you're fighting against ranged enemies. So you can still shoot your abilities at them, but it's going to stop their ranged abilities from hitting you. So next up here, another consecration skill, Purging Flames. So create a ring of fire that burns foes when it first forms, and again whenever foes cross it. Allies inside the ring lose conditions every pulse. Alright, so this is going to be another ground target ability. You're going to bring removing conditions off your allies, but also burning enemies every time they enter it. So that's pretty cool. So let's just try it out on this poor little guy over here. Bam, there you go. So it's going to be burning them, and like I said, it's going to be taking conditions off your allies as well. So once again, doing positive and negative effects all at the same time. So another good couple of skills there. Okay, so we've got the next few skills down here now. So we've got a couple more consecration skills. So we've got Hallowed Ground. So another ground target ability, and it says consecrate the target area, granting stability to allies inside. So this is going to target up to 5 allies, and it's you can do it from range, but you see it's going to have a positive effect. Nice big radius here, as you can see from the circle. Place that down.
Go ahead.
Boom, there you go. As you can see, I've got buffs on myself. They keep coming back as long as I stay in here. Same with all my allies. So you could place this down, and all of your allies in here when you're in a group situation, and it's going to buff all of them, which is really good. So your next one here is your final consecration skill, and this is called Sanctuary. So it says, form a protective healing shelter for allies. Block foes and their missiles from entering. So this will stop you from any enemies and their missiles, effectively ranged attacks, from actually entering. So you can place this where you are, or you can place it further away where your allies are. But as you can see, boom, there you go. Nice created bubble there. You can use the rest of your skills while it's active. You can still shoot out of it, but they can't shoot in and they can't enter as well. So it's a pretty cool way of protecting you and your allies, where you can still attack them from range. So your next one here is your first shout ability. This is called Retreat. So it's grant Aegis and Swiftness to up to 5 nearby allies. So this one is activated on a radius around you. It's a pretty big radius, so they don't have to be too close. And it can target up to 5 enemies. It's an ammo ability, so it's got a maximum count of 2. You've got its number 2 here, and it will reload it's 30 seconds, so it's quite a long reload, but as you can see, it will give swiftness, so increased movement speed of your allies, as well as giving them Aegis as well, so block the next incoming attack. So that's pretty cool. So let's just give that a quick little go.
Retreat.
As you can see, moving around quicker, that indicates I've got Aegis there, so I'm going to block the next incoming attack, and I've got swiftness. Lasts for quite a long time as well, swiftness for 20.5 seconds. So that's pretty cool as well, to help you and your allies get around quicker. Alright, so we've got a few more shout abilities here now as well. So we've got Save Yourselves, which is draw conditions from nearby allies to yourself. Gain multiple boons for a short duration. So this transfers all of your allies' conditions over to you, but it also gives you a bunch of boons, so which will probably counteract it. So if you've got you're surrounded by your teammates and they've all got a lot of conditions on them, you can use this to bring them over to you, so it cures them of their condition, but then you get a bunch of boons anyway, so it should pretty much negate itself. As you can see, it also breaks stun as well and has a radius of 600. So let's just show you what this looks like. Boom, there you can see we're like drawing in air. Look at all these buffs along here. Massive amount of buffs, lasting a decent amount of time. So that's a really good one there. Obviously, you can put a lot of buffs on yourself with the Guardian, so that's really cool. Your next one here is Stand Your Ground. So grant stability to yourself and allies. You can see there, stability means you cannot be knocked down, pushed back, dazed, stunned, any of these things here. So if you're fighting a boss or something and it keeps fearing you or something like that, you can use this so you and your allies can't get any of that. And you can see it's also got retaliation as well, so reflect incoming damage back to its source. So there's quite a few effects there. And once again, as it's a shout ability, it affects everyone around you, all of your allies. So boom. There you go, little animation there just showing that shout going out, so that's pretty cool. And you've got your final shout ability here, Hold the Line. So grant protection and regeneration to allies. So it's going to reduce the incoming damage for allies and give them health regen as well. So it can target up to 5 allies in a radius of 600 around you. So let's just show that out. And as you can see, it does put it on you as well. So protection and regeneration to you and all your allies. So more and more buffs, making you and your allies even more powerful, which is really awesome. As you can see, we've now got a few signet abilities here as well. So you can see your passives along the top there. So as long as they're not on cooldown, you're going to have those passives. And your first one here is Bane Signet. So the passive on this set is that it improves your power. And power increases your damage. So basically, if you've got a damage build, you might want to keep this one on your bar because it's going to make you do even more damage. The active ability is that it knocks down and damages your foe. So it's pretty good to have a knockdown on your bar as well to interrupt the foe or something like that. So it's a pretty cool option both for the passive and the active, this one. So let's quickly just demonstrate that active ability there. So boom, there you go, it's damage to the enemy, knocks them down as well, so they interrupt them and they can't do anything. But obviously I've lost my passive while it's on cooldown. The next one here is Signet of Judgment. So the passive is that it reduces incoming damage, so it's going to make you even more tankier. And the active is that it grants retaliation to nearby allies and burns nearby enemies. So it's helping your allies and also affecting your enemies as well. So if I give that a go, boom, there you see, these guys are all on fire. It's going to be helping your allies as well, so best of both worlds there. And then your next Signet ability here is Signet of Wrath. So the passive on this one is that it grants you increased condition damage. So if you got a condition build, then you might want to use this one, so it's going to make that even more powerful. And the active is it immobilizes your target as well. So you see that's 3.25 second immobilization there, so that's pretty cool. And you can also do that from range. So if I stand back here, bam, there you go, immobilized, and I can hit him. Me and my allies can hit him with a bunch of abilities and he can't react. So that's pretty cool as well. Okay, so I've got my final Signet ability here, and that's Signet of Mercy. So the passive on this one is that it improves concentration. So it gives you 120 concentration. The Signet active ability is that it revives a nearby downed ally. So this is pretty cool to have in your bar if you're in a group situation where, you know, people will potentially be getting downed. You can straight away revive them, so you know you miss out the lengthy process of trying to revive them and then getting killed while you do that. So that's pretty cool. So let's just, I mean, obviously we can demonstrate the animation, but we're obviously not going to be able to do it because we haven't got a downed ally. But see, it does take a couple of seconds, so it's not instant, but it doesn't take very long. It's a lot quicker than actually reviving the ally, and then bam. Big cooldown though, so 90 seconds, which I suppose you would expect. Does mean that you won't have that passive for the whole time that's coming back, so that's something to bear in mind. So your next one here is pretty cool. So this is your first look at a spirit weapon ability. So this is called Hammer of Wisdom. So this is order the Hammer of Wisdom to knock down your foe. So this is a ground targeted ability. You can do it from long range, so 900, and it knocks down your enemy. As you can see, it's got 2 casts. The count recharges 30 seconds. It can target up to 3 enemies. So you can knock down a bunch of enemies that are close together there. So if I show you this to you now, boom. So really cool animation there. Creates a hammer that flies up in the air and comes down and knocks them down. So that's really cool. It's got 2 charges, so I can just show you that once more there. So whoosh, bam. So that's a really cool ability there, little spirit weapon ability. So your next one's another spirit weapon, and this is Sword of Justice.
Eat my dust.
So will the Sword of Justice to appear beside your enemy and attack nearby foes. So another long range ability with a little radius, which you can ground target. As you can see, it puts cripple on the enemy's vulnerability, so it's got some good effects there, and it will damage all the nearby foes. So if I give this a go and I place this down on this guy over here, or this guy, you can see, there you go, look, you've got a bunch of effects on them, and it spins round, and that wouldn't just attack that one, it would be anyone in that area. So that's a pretty good option as well. Alright, so we've got your final 2 utility skills here for the Guardian. So the first one here is Bow of Truth. So this is another spirit weapon ability. So this is command the Bow of Truth to barrage a location with healing arrows. So you may think this was going to do damage, but actually no, it does healing. So this is a one to use when you've got allies. You can see ground targeted, you can do it from 1200 range, and it has all the details there in terms of the number of targets and the amount of healing it's going to do. we'll just demonstrate this. So it's a nice big radius, so I can shoot this. Arrow's going to come down. It's going to rain down healing arrows to all allies in the area. So that's a really cool ability that you can use to help heal all of your allies. And then you've got a couple of charges of it as well, so you can use it quite quickly again as well if you need to heal your allies once again. So it's a pretty cool one. If you're playing a nice support role, then you can put that ability on your bar. So the final utility skill we've got here is Shield of the Avenger. So this is the final spirit weapon ability as well, and it's command the Shield of the Avenger to form a protective dome and then shatter, flying out to weaken nearby foes. So it's a good protective one, so it's going to block missiles, but then it's also going to fly out afterwards and put weakness on enemies as well. So it lasts for 5 seconds, and it's got a few casts to use. You can use it from long range and it's ground targeted. So just demonstrate this. Bam, created that, and then after a few seconds you should see that fly out. Okay, fly out to weaken nearby foes. I don't know if they were that nearby, or maybe it doesn't show it on here, but let's just... Oh yeah, you can see, there you go. So there you go, it's put weakness on it, so when you put it down it flies out, not at the end. So that's pretty cool. So that is actually all of the utility skills for the Guardian. So the next thing I want to do is have a look at the Guardian's elite skills. Okay, so now I want to have a look at the Guardian's elite skills. So elite skills are generally the most powerful skills on your bar, but have quite high cooldowns. So the first one I've got here to show you is a shout ability, and this is called Fill My Wrath. So this grants fury and quickness to nearby allies. The duration of the quickness you grant yourself is double. Okay, so as you can see, you're going to give 3¼ seconds of quickness to your allies and double to yourself, which makes your skills and actions faster, so you can use this before you use all of your other abilities, which is really good. So you and your allies are all going to be able to whack out your abilities faster, which means you can do damage and buffs and healing a lot quicker, so that's really good. And then also you've got Fury, so your critical chances increase on that as well. So this is going to be in a radius around you, so just to demonstrate this, bam, there you go, and then you're going to be able to cast your, as you can see, everything's nice and quick. Bam, bam, bam. So you can use your abilities a lot quicker, and so can your allies. So that's really cool to have in a group situation. Alright, so the next elite skill I wanted to show you is a meditation skill, and this is called Renewed Focus. So this says focus, making yourself invulnerable and recharging your virtues. So this lasts for 3 seconds, so it makes you invulnerable, so you literally cannot take any damage for those 3 seconds, which is really cool. And it also recharges your virtues, which is something that we're going to go in very shortly when we get onto the profession mechanics. So that could be really good as well. If you're using your virtues quite a lot, then that's gonna recharge them, as well as making yourself invulnerable. And who doesn't want to be invulnerable? Let's just give this a quick demonstration. So as you can see, for these 3 seconds, any enemies will be attacking you, and you're not going to take any damage. So if your enemy, you find a boss or something, and they're powering up a really powerful ability or something like that, you use that, and then that's just going to bounce straight off you. So that's pretty cool. Alright, so the final elite skill I wanted to show you is an elite signet. So this is Signet of Courage. So the passive ability on this is that it's going to periodically heal allies in an area around you while in combat. So this is pretty cool. So if you're in combat with a group of allies and you're within close proximity to them, to be fair, it does say, yeah, the passive radius is 300, so they do have to be pretty close to you. It's going to periodically heal them, so it's going to keep them alive, so that's really cool. And then the active ability is fully heal nearby allies. So this could be really powerful. So this Signet active, the radius on this is 1200. So even if they're long range, any ally anywhere near you, it's going to heal them fully. So that's really powerful. So if you're fighting a boss or something like that, and you're all really low on health, you're going to whack out that ability, and you're all going to go straight to full health. So that's going to be a really powerful ability that you can pull out in a group situation. So that is all of the elite skills for the Guardian. So now I wanted to give you a quick overview of the profession mechanics. Alright, so now I wanted to speak about the unique profession mechanics for the Guardian. So this is what makes the Guardian tick and what makes them unique, and what makes them also a lot more tanky than most of the other classes in Guild Wars 2. So this here, we've got the virtues. So your F1 to F3, these are your virtue skills. So these work in a similar way to Signet abilities, which obviously we've already looked at. So they have a Virtue, which is a passive ability effectively that will be always active, and then they have an active ability, so when you activate it, it's going to do that, and then obviously while it's on cooldown, you're not going to have your passive ability, just the same as with a Signet. So the first one here, your F1 ability, this is Virtue of Justice. So the Virtue ability, so the passive on this is burn foes every few attacks. So this effectively, you probably noticed when I was trying out the weapon skills, every couple of attacks, you know, I'd be putting burning on the enemy, even though the skill didn't say that. So it's like an extra effect. So you know, you can put burning on your enemy every few attacks. So that's pretty cool. So it's just another condition, and obviously burning's going to do damage over time. So it just makes you a little bit more powerful. The active ability of this, so once you press F1, so obviously the passive side of it, you don't have to press it; it just stays there. And it will just always be on your bar. But when you actually press F1 to activate it, it's you and your allies inflict burning on the next attack. So it's guaranteed on the next attack that not just yourself but also your allies, so all of you are going to inflict burning on the next attack. So you know, maybe you're in a boss situation, you're all attacking a boss, use that and all of you are going to put burning at the same time. That's going to stack up, and that's going to do a hell of a lot of damage over a good few seconds. I think 4.5 seconds there, 3 stacks of burning per person. So that's going to be a really powerful active effect if there's a few of you. It's probably not worth using when you're on your own, but pretty good one to do if you're in a group situation. Your second one here, your second virtue, your F2 ability, is Virtue of Resolve. So this is one of the reasons why the Guardian are so tanky. Is because the passive on this is it regenerates health. So basically, as long as you've got this here, which you know you always will, unless it's on cooldown, you know you're going to be regenerating health constantly. So you know, it's really powerful, and it's something that no other class in Guild Wars 2 has. So your survivability is going to be better than anyone else. So on top of that, you've also got the active ability, which is to heal yourself and nearby allies. So you know, if the passive healing isn't quite doing enough for you, and you know you need the extra healing, then you can just use that, and not only is it going to heal yourself but also all the allies around you. And you can see there you've got self condition removal as well, and you can target up to 5 allies, so that's pretty cool. I'll just demonstrate that as well, just to show what that looks like. So boom, there you go. So that would heal all your enemies around you. You can see that passive effect is dropped off now, as I said. And I didn't show off the F1 actually, so I'll just quickly show that. Boom. Obviously this is not very exciting, but I thought I'd just demonstrate it anyway. And yeah, you can see their next attack inflicts burning there, so that's going to do that. So just have a look. Oh, that's pretty cool as well. You've got a nice animation there on your bar as well, flames, which is pretty cool. And you've got your third and final virtue here, which is Virtue of Courage. So the passive on this is that you gain Aegis periodically. So Aegis means that you block your next incoming attack. So you can see I've got it there, shown by the little shield there. So block the next incoming attack and stacks duration. So as you can see, this refreshes every 40 seconds. So every 40 seconds you're going to get that, and that's quite powerful because whatever the attack is, it's going to block it completely, and you're not going to do any damage. So that's another way, you know, another thing that makes your Guardian even more tanky without having to do anything. And then you can also whack out the active ability on this one as well, which is to grant Aegis to yourself and nearby allies. So instead of doing it periodically, you know, this is going to grant it straight away, but the main thing about this is it's also going to give it to nearby allies as well. It's probably not worth using this if you're by yourself, because to be honest, it's going to give you Aegis anyway. But obviously if you're in a group situation, then you can do this to give it to yourself and nearby allies. So that's pretty cool, and it does it in a radius of 600 around you. So that's the basic profession mechanics for the Guardian. So the next thing I'm going to do is go through these specializations, the core specializations for the Guardian, and have a look at each trait, a lot of which will actually make your virtues more powerful, as well as your skills and your weapons. So let's do that now. Okay, so now I'm going to look at the 5 core specializations for the Guardian, and then have a look at each individual trait and see how you can make your skills, weapons, virtues and everything just more powerful. This is really important for your build, so you're going to want to watch this. So let's have a look. So your first one is Zeal, so let's try this out. So the first trait on this is Zealot's Speed. So cast Lesser Symbol of Wrath when you're struck while below the health threshold. Health threshold is 75%, so to be honest, you know, it's quite common that you're going to get hit when you're below that. And that's going to cast a symbol which is going to sear a mystic symbol into your target area, damaging foes and granting retaliation to allies. So that's a pretty cool one. That's going to make you a little bit more tanky as well. So your first options here, you've got Wrathful Spirit. So Aegis grants boons when it ends. Obviously we looked just a minute ago and you've got a virtue which grants Aegis regularly, so you're going to get that a lot. So this is going to make it even better because it's going to grant boons as well, retaliation and fury. Next one is Fiery Wrath. So this is deal increased damage to burning foes. As we saw, you know, we've got a lot of things, including the virtue as well, like we said, which is going to set people on fire. So this means when they're set on fire, which is going to be quite common, you're also going to do 7% extra damage to them as well. So that's really cool. Next one here is Zealous Scepter. So gain might when your virtue skill 1 passive effect triggers. So whenever this one here, your F1, whenever the passive effect triggers, then you're going to gain might and gain more might while wielding a scepter. So that's pretty good. So if you're using a scepter as one of your weapons in your main hand, this is going to make that even better because you're going to have might while you do that as well. So basically you're going to be doing even more damage. And here you've got Symbolic Exposure. So symbols inflict vulnerability on foes. Damage to vulnerable foes is increased. So if you've got your build, you've got a lot of symbols, then this is going to be good because it's going to buff those even more, make them more powerful. Here you've got Furious Focus. So while you have Fury, your attacks inflict vulnerability. So if you've got a lot of things that put Fury buff on yourself, then this is going to make it even better because it's going to make you do more damage as your enemies are going to have vulnerability on them. Next up you have Zealous Blade. So your power is increased. Gain additional power while wielding a greatsword. Your greatsword skills have reduced recharge. So this is a must if you're using a greatsword, which to be honest is one of the best weapons for the Guardian. So you're probably going to want to integrate this into your build if you're doing a power build. So as you can see, plus 120 power, making you more powerful. Another 120 power if you're holding the greatsword, and also reducing your greatsword ability recharge by 20%. So that's excellent. Here you've got Kindled Zeal. So gain condition damage based on your power. So if you're looking for a condition build, then you can see gain condition power based on a percentage of your power, so 10%. So that's pretty good. Here you've got Symbolic Power. So symbols deal increased damage and charge your virtue skill 1 passive effect twice as fast. So that's got a couple of good effects there. And as you can see, this is a pretty good specialization if you've got a lot of symbols in your build because it buffs them quite a lot. So your last choice here is Eternal Armory. So spirit weapons gain additional casts, improved count recharge and burn foes they strike. So if you're using spirit weapons as part of your build as your utility skills, that's going to make those even more powerful. Here you've got Shattered Aegis. So when an Aegis you applied blocks an attack, it unleashes a Mystic Rebuke. So Mystic Rebuke is lash out against nearby foes. So this is pretty good. So if you're using Aegis and you know you block attack, or if one of your allies does, if you've cast that Aegis, then that's pretty cool because that's going to like you do a counter attack as well. So that's awesome. Last one here is Symbolic Avenger. So your damage is increased whenever your symbols hit a foe. So there you go, even more, making your symbols even better. So the next specialization that we can use is Honor. So here you've got Vigorous Precision. So gain vigor when you critically strike. So, you know, if you've built around critical hitting, you know, you've got high precision, then that's pretty good, and that's going to make that even better. Your choices here, you've got Invigorated Bulwark. So increase your healing to other allies each time you block an attack. Mace skills gain reduced recharge and their boons gain increased duration. So you can see there's a couple of things there to look at. If you're using a one-handed mace, that's pretty good because that's going to make your mace skills even better and, you know, recharge quicker. So that's probably going to want to be going for that one if you are. Here you have Protective Reviver. So cast Lesser Shield of Absorption when you begin reviving an ally. Shield of Absorption revives allies when it detonates. So that's pretty good. So that's going to help protect you when you're reviving them. Lesser Shield of Absorption there, so create a dome around you, it pushes foes back and absorbs projectiles. So that's going to help if you want to, you know, if you're in a group situation, you want to help keep your allies alive. So next you've got Protector's Restoration. So cast Lesser Symbol of Protection when you use a healing skill. So Lesser Symbol of Protection is create a symbol that gives protection to you and your allies. So basically if you're casting a healing skill, you're also going to give you and your allies protection as well. So that's good if you're doing a support build. You've got Selfless Daring. So the end of your dodge roll heals nearby allies. So once again, if you're doing a support roll and you're dodging around, you're going to get extra healing on your allies. You've got Honourable Staff. So gain concentration, gain additional concentration while wielding a staff, and staff skills recharge time is reduced. So once again, if you're wielding a staff as one of your weapons, you're going to want to do that to make that even better. Pure of Heart. So Aegis heals when it blocks an attack. So once again, if you've got it into your build quite a lot, then that's good because it's also going to heal whenever you're blocking with Aegis. Empowering Might. So grant might to nearby allies when you critically strike. So once again, focusing on the critically strike. So if you built that into your build quite a lot, then this is pretty good because you're going to be getting might on top of that as well. Purity of Body. So your virtue skill 2 passive also regenerates endurance. So that's going to help you dodge around quicker as well. So that's good. Here you've got Pure of Voice. So shout skills gain reduced recharge and convert conditions to boons on allies. So if you've got a lot of shouts in your build, then that's going to be good because that's going to make them even better. You've got Writ of Persistence. So symbols are improved and heal allies, so that's going to improve your symbols even more. And then you've got Force of Will. So gain increased vitality. Healing others is improved based on a percentage of your vitality. So this is good for keeping you alive because your vitality gives you more health, and then also it increases the amount you heal to others. So this is pretty good if you're going for a support build. Alright, so next up you have Radiance. So here you've got Justice is Blind. So gain a light aura and blind nearby foes when you activate Virtue Skill 1. So if you're activating that F1 ability quite a lot, then this is cool because you're also going to be blinding foes as well, which is going to make them miss when they try and attack you. Here you've got Inner Fire. So gain Fury when you strike a foe that has burning stacks over the threshold. Stacks are free, so as long as they've got over 3 stacks of burning on them, then you're going to gain Fury when you hit them. So if you've got a lot of burning in your build, then that's going to be a good one. Right Hand Strength. So your precision is increased. Gain increased power while wielding a one-handed weapon. Sword skills gain reduced recharge. So if you've got a one-handed weapon, this is going to make it even better, but definitely if you've got a sword as well, because you've got so not the great sword, but the one-handed sword, you're going to get extra power, reduced recharge rate, and extra precision. So if you're using a one-handed sword as part of your build, then you've got to have that trait as well. So here you've got Healer's Retribution. So gain retaliation when using a heal skill. So there that reflects incoming damage, so that's even more, makes you more tanky. Here you've got Renewed Justice. So Virtue Skill 1 is renewed when you kill a foe. So that's pretty good there, it's making your virtues even better. Here you've got Wrath of Justice. So striking an enemy with the damaging effect from Virtue Skill 1 casts Lesser Signet of Wrath. So once again making your Virtue Skill 1 better. And Lesser Signet of Wrath immobilises your target, so that's really good. You've got Radiant Fire. So gain Zealot's Flame when you critically hit an enemy. Burning you inflict has increased duration and your torch skills gain reduced recharge. So if you've got a torch as an offhand in your build, then you're definitely going to want to do that because that's going to make that even better. And here you've got Retribution. So retaliation grants you increased damage. So if you've got retaliation incorporated into your build, this is also going to give you increased damage when you've got retaliation, so that makes that even better. So you've got Radiant Power. So attacks against burning foes have an increased chance to critically hit, and your ferocity is increased. So critical hit chance increased and your ferocity is higher, which increases your critical hit damage. So it's all based around that. And that's obviously if your foes are burning. So if you've got a lot of things in your build that's making foes burn, that's going to make that even better. And then here, your final choices on here, you've got Amplified Wrath, which is burning you inflict deals increased damage. Burning duration applied by the passive effect of Virtue Skill 1 is increased. So it seems that you definitely want to use a specialization if you're incorporating burning and your first Virtue Skill into that, because it buffs the hell out of that, so that's really good. Here you've got Perfect Inscriptions. So signets gain reduced recharge, improved passive effects, and share their passive effects with nearby allies when activated. So if you've got a couple of signets in your build, you're going to want to use that because that's going to make them even better. You've got Righteous Instincts, which is retaliation, increases your chance to critically strike and grants might each interval. So that's going to make that better as well, so that's cool. So the next specialization you can choose from is Virtues. So this, Inspired Virtue. So virtues apply boons to allies when activated. So as you can see, it shows you each virtue there and what boon they do, so that makes the active ability of your virtues even better for all three of them. Here you've got Unscathed Contender. So deal increased damage while you have Aegis. So if you have that in your build quite a lot, then that's going to mean that you do even more damage. So Retaliatory Subconscious. Gain retaliation and Aegis when disabled. So disabled there includes stun, daze, knockback. So you know, if that's been used against you a lot, that's also going to give you retaliation and Aegis. So it's actually going to make that a good thing, which is cool. Here you've got Master of Consecrations. So consecrations gain reduced recharge and increased duration. So that's a particular type of skill. So if you've got a couple of consecration utility skills in your build, you're probably going to want that because you're going to make them even better. Here you've got Virtue of Retribution. So gain retaliation when you activate a virtue. Retaliation you grant has increased duration. So that's going to make, as I said, your virtues even better, which is obviously, as it's the virtue specialization, it's obviously going to be focused on that. Here you've got Inspiring Virtue, so deal increased damage after activating a virtue. And you've got Absolute Resolution, which activating Virtue Skill 2 removes conditions from nearby allies. Virtue Skill 2's passive effect is stronger, so that buffs your Virtue Skill 2 quite a lot. Here you've got Glacial Heart, so Mighty Blow becomes Glacial Blow, chill and damage foes that you disable. So unleash a blast of ice that chills foes, so that's going to make that even better. Here you've got Power of the Virtuous, so deal increased damage for each boon on you. Virtues gain reduced recharge. So there you go. Once again, making those even better. So by the time you've got this all maxed out, this specialization, your virtues are going to be doing a hell of a lot more than they did originally. So here you got Permeating Wrath. The passive effect of Virtue Skill 1 triggers more quickly and now burns in an area. Here you've got Battle Presence. So nearby allies gain the passive effect of Virtue Skill 2. And here you got Indomitable Courage. So the active effect of Virtue Skill 3 breaks stun and grants stability to nearby allies. Its passive effect gains a shorter interval. So that's obviously all based around making your virtues really powerful. And then your final core specialization is Valor. So let's have a quick look at this. So you've got Valorous Defense. So gain Aegis when you are struck while below the health threshold. Health threshold's 50%. So whenever you're struck below 50%, you're going to gain Aegis. So that's going to give you that even more. And obviously, like we've seen with a lot of specializations, you can buff your Aegis up so it puts even more effects on you. Next, you've got Strength of the Fallen. So lose conditions every interval. Health degenerates more slowly while downed. And here you've got Smiter's Boon. So cast Lesser Smite Condition when you use a healing skill. And Lesser Smite Condition is a meditation skill which cures conditions and damage nearby foes and deal more damage if the condition is cured. So whenever you use a healing skill, it's going to activate that effect. Here you've got Focus Mastery. So focus skills grant you protection and gain reduced recharge. So if you've got a focus offhand in your build, that's going to make that even better in all of those skills. Here you've got Steadfast Courage. So gain protection when you block an incoming attack with Aegis. Here you've got Stalwart Defender. So gain toughness when wielding a shield, and shield skills gain reduced recharge. So that's going to make, if you've got an offhand shield in your build, and you're going to want to use that trait because that's going to make that even better. So Strength in Numbers. So nearby allies gain toughness based on your effective level. So you sit there. It has details on that as well, so that's pretty cool. They've got Communal Defenses. So blocking an attack grants Aegis to nearby allies. So that's pretty cool. So if you're using Aegis and you're blocking an attack, once you do that, which is quite frequent with a lot of these builds, you're then going to give Aegis to all your allies again. So that's pretty good. And here you've got Might of the Protector. So gain might when you block attacks. So once again, all of this linking in with your Aegis, making that even more powerful. So whenever you block, whenever you use your Aegis, it's going to trigger like a domino effect of all sorts of effects, which are going to make you really powerful and really hard to kill, which is really cool. altruistic healing. So heal yourself when you grant a boon to an ally. So if you've got a lot of skills granting boons to allies, use that and then you're going to be helping yourself stay alive even more. Here you've got Monk's Focus. So meditation skills heal you, grant fury to nearby allies and gain reduced recharge. So if you have a couple of meditation skills in your build, then you're going to want to use that because that's going to make them even better. And your final option here is Tenacious Defense. So Aegis you grant reduces the recharge time of Virtue skill 3 when it blocks an attack. So once again, making your Aegis even better. So that's all 5 of the core specializations for the Guardian. So now we've had a look at that, the last thing I want to do is throw together a little Guardian build, and then I'll just do a combat demonstration for you so you can see what it looks like when it all comes together. Alright, so I've thrown together a quick little Guardian build here. I've got the great sword on this weapon set, and then I've got a one-handed sword and an off-handed torch on the other weapon set. Got a couple of passive signets on here, a spirit weapon, a shout, and also a nice shout elite skill there as well. So let's give this a go. Alright, so that was just a quick demonstration of the Guardian once you've got a build together. So that pretty much everything to cover the Guardian in this video. If you have any more questions about it, then obviously just leave them in the comments below. And I am going to be doing a guide like this on all of the individual classes and elite specializations, so do watch out for that. I've had a few out already. I also have a video showing off in a bit more brief detail all of the classes and all of the elite specializations in one video, so do check that out as well. So if you found this helpful, please like and subscribe to be kept up to date on all my newest content. And thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you later.